The year is 2026. The Live with Kelly and Mark studio hums with its usual pre-show electricity. The band warming up, the audience sipping coffee and shuffling in their seats. Producers running last-minute checks with the frantic precision of a Broadway stage manager. It's just another morning in New York City. Or so everyone believes. 25 years. That's how long Kelly Ripa has been hosting this show. 25 years of celebrity interviews, awkward moments, tearful confessions, and the occasional disastrous musical performance. She has welcomed presidents and pop stars, actors and activists, heroes and villains. She has smiled through feuds, laughed through scandals, and charmed her way through countless uncomfortable silences. But today, something is different. Today's guest carries a particular weight, a name that provokes strong reactions on both sides of the Atlantic. A woman whose journey from television actress to duchess to global entrepreneur has been documented, dissected, and debated more than almost any other public figure of the 21st century. Meghan Markle has arrived, and she hasn't come alone. A substantial entourage sweeps through the studio doors. A publicist, a communications handler, an assistant clutching a phone like a lifeline. Someone whose sole apparent purpose is to carry emergency wardrobe options. The air shifts as she enters, the kind of gravitational pull that only the truly famous can generate. Heads turn. Conversations pause. Even the cameras seem to lean slightly in her direction. She walks onto the set with practiced grace, her movements precise and deliberate. She shakes Kelly's hand with appropriate warmth, then Mark's. She settles into the guest chair with the careful attention to camera angles that speaks of someone who has spent years learning exactly how she looks from every possible lens. But something is off. Something that Kelly Ripa, with her 25 years of experience, notices within the first 30 seconds. Meghan, welcome to Live. Thank you so much for having me. I've always admired what you and Mark have built here. The words are polite. The tone is measured. But there is something behind Meghan's eyes that suggests assessment rather than enthusiasm. Like someone calculating rather than connecting. Like someone who has walked into the studio already prepared for battle. Kelly's instincts sharpen. She's seen this before. The guest who treats the interview not as a conversation but as a negotiation. The celebrity who views the host not as a collaborator but as an obstacle to be managed. And right now, Kelly knows she has one of those guests sitting on her couch. So, the Geneva trip, Kelly begins, her voice bright but carrying an edge that only seasoned viewers might detect. The lost screen memorial digital safety. That's really important work, especially right now with everything happening online. Meghan's response comes quickly, smoothly, like water flowing downhill. Deeply important. We're trying to create safer online spaces for children. The memorial represents the lives lost to social media harm, and we need policymakers to understand the urgency. It's a good answer. Rehearsed, certainly, but good. The kind of answer that would satisfy most interviewers. Kelly, however, is not most interviewers. There was some controversy, though, she says, her tone shifting slightly. The photo with the Finnish politician. The one with the, let's say, complicated history. Meghan's expression flickers. It's a micro shift, so subtle that most viewers would miss it entirely. But Kelly catches it. Of course she catches it. She's been reading micro-expressions for a quarter of a century. I can't control who approaches me at public events. But you can control who you pose with. Kelly's voice is still warm, but there's a steel beneath it now. The photo made international news. Did your team vet the attendee list? Did anyone check who'd be there before you started posing for photos? The temperature in the studio drops several degrees. Mark shifts in his chair, sensing where this is heading. His hand moves slightly, a nervous gesture that betrays his growing discomfort. Large events have many participants. Ministers, delegates, advocates. We can't research every person who might ask for a picture. But this wasn't just any person. Kelly's voice remains calm, measured, relentless. Willie Reedman has been accused of racism and inappropriate behavior. Very public accusations. Very easy to find online. Surely someone on your team Googles the guest list before a major international event. Mark attempts an intervention, his voice carrying its characteristic warmth. I think what Kelly's getting at. I understand what she's getting at. Meghan interrupts, her voice cooling several degrees. The implication is that I should have known about every person's political background before attending an international event. The implication, Kelly says calmly, is that someone promoting digital safety might want to be careful about who they're photographed with. That's not unreasonable. In fact, it seems like basic due diligence. She pauses, letting the weight of the question settle. The audience has gone quiet. The usual morning show chatter has evaporated, replaced by the electric tension of something unexpected unfolding. Due diligence for every person at a Who dinner? For anyone you pose next to at an event connected to your advocacy? Your image is your brand. Your brand is your message. A photo with someone accused of racism undermines both. Meghan's jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. Her publicist is visible in the wings, making frantic gestures that everyone ignores. The cameras capture everything, every micro-expression, every moment of discomfort. There was also the Instagram post, Kelly continues, not allowing the pause to stretch. Lily's wardrobe post, shared hours before you flew to Geneva to speak about children's exposure to social media. What about it? A private moment with my daughter that I chose to share. Posted publicly to millions of followers before a speech warning about children's digital presence. Kelly's voice remains conversational, but the edge is unmistakable now. The irony was noted by a lot of people. Meghan's posture stiffens almost imperceptibly. Her hands, resting elegantly on her knee, tense slightly. The composure that she has cultivated so carefully, so professionally, is beginning to show hairline cracks. I shared a precious family moment. There's nothing contradictory about that. You shared your child on the platform you were about to criticize. Kelly shakes her head slowly. That's not irony. That's contradiction. You were about to tell the world that social media harms children while simultaneously putting your child on social media. The words land like stones in still water. The audience seems to hold its breath. Mark's discomfort is visible now, his body language broadcasting his desperate search for an exit, for any way to salvage this increasingly tense situation. There's a difference between harmful content and a loving photo of a mother and daughter. Is there? Kelly's voice is softer now, but somehow more pointed. Your speech said children's images shouldn't be exploited online. Then you posted your child's image online. Who determines the difference between sharing and exploiting? Because from outside, the distinction seems arbitrary. The studio has gone completely silent. No one in the audience is sipping coffee anymore. No one is shuffling in their seats. They are watching, frozen, as a moment that will be replayed millions of times unfolds in real time. Ido. Meghan's voice has an edge now, sharp and defensive. She's my daughter. I make those decisions. And you decided to expose her to the same digital scrutiny you just warned against. Kelly's voice is almost gentle, but the words themselves are anything but. The timeline was public. People noticed. The criticism wasn't unfair. It was pointing out the obvious. Mark attempts intervention again, his voice carrying its characteristic warmth, trying to bridge the chasm that has opened between his wife and their guest. Different families have different boundaries. What works for one? Mark, let me finish. Kelly's tone carries an edge that surprises even the regular viewers. The question isn't about boundaries. It's about consistency. You can't warn the world about digital harm to children while using your children for content. That's not different boundaries. That's hypocrisy. Meghan's face has gone red. Her carefully cultivated composure is cracking in ways that are visible to everyone in the studio, everyone watching at home, everyone who will later watch the clips that are already being recorded and shared. My children are not content. Your children appear in carefully staged moments that generate significant media coverage. Kelly leans forward slightly, her voice dropping to something more intimate, more dangerous. What else would you call that? When something appears on Instagram with professional lighting, perfect framing, and strategic timing, that's content. It's produced. It's planned. That's deeply offensive. Kelly shrugs, unmoved. That's observation. Every public appearance of your children coincides with something you're promoting. The anniversary video release days before a product launch. The birthday messages timed to news cycles. The wardrobe photo hours before Geneva. The pattern is consistent, and it's been consistent for years. The pattern is a mother sharing her family. The pattern is a media professional deploying her children strategically while claiming they're protected from media. Kelly's voice is firm but not unkind. Those positions contradict each other. You can't claim privacy while simultaneously curating public moments. Mark tries again, his voice gentle but clearly strained. Kelly, maybe we should move to. I want to hear her explain it. Kelly turns fully to face Meghan. How do you reconcile privacy claims with public posting? Because from where I sit, the privacy seems selective. Private when it suits you. Public when it benefits you. Meghan's hands grip the edge of the couch cushion. Her knuckles are white. Her face is flushed. The mask of professional composure that she has worn throughout her public life is slipping, and behind it, something raw and unguarded is emerging. I don't need to reconcile anything to you. You're not my judge. You don't need to. Kelly's voice is remarkably calm. But you chose to come on a talk show to discuss these exact topics. Now the topics are being discussed. What did you expect? That we just nod along? She pauses, letting the words settle. Then, with the precision of a surgeon, she changes direction. Let's try something else. The Netflix project. The wedding date rom-com. How's that going? Meghan's shoulders drop slightly. The relief is visible, almost palpable. Finally, a question she can answer. A topic she can control. Development is progressing well. We're excited about the creative direction. With the same enthusiasm Netflix had for your lifestyle show, Kelly's voice is deceptively light. Because with love, Meghan got one season. That's usually called canceled. It wasn't canceled. It was a creative evolution. We mutually decided to pursue different directions. It was a single season that wasn't renewed. Kelly's voice is matter-of-fact. In television, we call that canceled. I've been in this industry for decades. I know how the language works. Mutual decision is what PR teams say when something fails. Mark steps in, his voice carrying gentle authority. Creative partnerships do evolve, though. Not everything. Mark. She's a grown woman who can answer questions. Kelly's voice is not harsh, but it is firm. Stop protecting her. The audience murmurs. Kelly's directness has surprised even her husband, whose face shows a mixture of concern and recognition. He has seen his wife handle difficult guests before, but this is different. This is something he has never witnessed. The original Netflix deal was reported at $100 million. Kelly continues, her gaze fixed on Meghan. It's been downgraded. Projects have been shelved. Pearl was canceled before production. The Spotify deal ended after one podcast. At what point does evolution become failure? My career is evolving in directions that align with my values. Your career is contracting. Kelly's voice is not cruel, but it is utterly without pretense. The trajectory is down, not up. Deals ending, projects not renewed, staff departing. That's not evolution. That's decline. Evolution implies growth. What's growing? Staff departures happen in every organization. At the rate yours do? Kelly's eyebrows rise slightly. 5 communications directors in how many years? Numerous assistants cycling through. The pattern suggests environment, not industry standard. People don't flee environments they want to be in. The staff situation has been misrepresented by media. The staff situation has been documented by multiple former employees. Anonymous accounts, on-record statements, consistent descriptions. Kelly's voice is calm, almost clinical. Either they're all lying, dozens of people all telling the same lie, or there's something actually happening. Working for high-profile figures involves pressure. I'm a high-profile figure. Kelly's voice carries the quiet authority of someone who has been doing this for decades. My staff stays for years. Decades, some of them. Mark's a high-profile figure. Same thing. Profile doesn't create turnover. Environment does. Mark shifts uncomfortably. Every workplace has its challenges. Mark, I love you. But stop. Kelly's voice is not angry, but it is firm. She needs to answer for this. When multiple people report similar experiences, the common factor becomes relevant. You're the common factor, Meghan. What's your explanation? Meghan's voice has gone cold. Frozen. I don't owe you an explanation of my internal operations. You don't owe me anything. Kelly shakes her head slowly. But you chose to build a public brand around kindness and wellness and authenticity. When the people closest to that brand consistently leave, the brand credibility suffers. That's not my creation. That's yours. Meghan stands up partially, then catches herself and sits back down. The composure is visibly cracking now. Her hands are trembling slightly. Her voice, when it comes, is tight with barely contained emotion. This is becoming hostile. This is becoming honest. Kelly's voice is remarkably steady. There's a significant difference. Hostile would be personal attacks. I've asked about your advocacy, your business deals, and your workplace. Professional topics. Topics anyone investing in your brand would want to understand. I didn't come here to be attacked. You came here to promote your work. I'm asking about your work. Kelly's voice softens almost imperceptibly. Questions about work aren't attacks. They're the basic function of journalism. Your tone is aggressive. My tone is direct. Kelly leans forward slightly. You're confusing directness with aggression because you're accustomed to people accepting everything you say without follow-up. When someone doesn't accept it, you call it aggression. That's a deflection technique, not a response. Mark stands up. His face carries that characteristic warmth. But there's something else beneath it now, something closer to desperation. Ladies, let's all take a breath. Maybe we can find some. I don't need a breath. Kelly's voice is steady. I need answers. Real answers, not talking points, not reframing, not deflection. Actual answers to legitimate questions. Meghan sits rigid on the couch. Her publicist is visible in the wings, making frantic gestures that everyone ignores. The cameras continue rolling, capturing every moment of this unprecedented confrontation. What do you want from me? I want you to answer questions without treating them as persecution. Kelly's voice is remarkably calm. I've asked about the Geneva photo. You deflected to the impossibility of vetting everyone. I've asked about the Instagram contradiction. You got defensive and called it offensive. I've asked about Netflix. You reframed cancellation as evolution. I've asked about staff. You blamed media misrepresentation. At what point does actual accountability happen? I'm accountable to myself and my family. You're accountable to anyone who supports your work. Kelly's voice carries the weight of years of experience. Donors to your foundation, viewers of your content, partners investing in your projects. Accountability isn't optional for public figures. It's the cost of the platform. She pauses. The silence stretches for a moment, charged and electric. How's Harry? The question lands like a dropped glass. Meghan's expression freezes completely. The color drains from her face, then floods back in a rush of unmistakable anger. I won't discuss my marriage. You've discussed it extensively elsewhere. Kelly's voice is almost gentle now. Oprah. 3 hours of marriage discussion. Netflix. A documentary literally about your marriage. Multiple statements, carefully curated videos, anniversary content. Why is your marriage off limits now? Because of the constant speculation and rumors. What rumors specifically? Kelly tilts her head slightly. I asked how your husband is. That's courtesy, not investigation. A normal response would be, he's great, or he's busy with Invictus planning. Instead, you're defensive about a friendly question. She pauses, letting the words land. The divorce speculation, which you could end by simply answering warmly, "We're wonderful. Thank you for asking." That would be the end of it. Instead, the defensiveness feeds the speculation you're complaining about. Mark tries once more, his voice soft but strained. Different people have different comfort levels with. "Mark, I'm asking you one more time to stop." Kelly's voice has hardened into something her audience rarely hears. She's published a documentary about her marriage. She's discussed it on global television watched by 50 million people. She's released carefully curated anniversary videos showing her children singing. The marriage is already thoroughly public. The privacy claim at this point is theater. Meghan's voice drops to something dangerous. "You don't get to tell me what's theater. I've been on television for 25 years. Kelly's voice is remarkably steady. "I've seen every kind of performance imaginable. I know theater when I see it. And what I'm seeing today is a performance that's not working." She leans forward, sensing she's found something real. The anniversary video, the children singing "Happy Anniversary." Very sweet. Also the first time their voices have been heard publicly in years. Convenient timing. Released right before the Geneva trip. There was nothing convenient about sharing a family moment. Everything about your media presence is convenient. Kelly's voice carries the weight of conviction. Timed for maximum impact. Coordinated with launches. Strategic to the point of being algorithmic. "I could set my watch by your content drops. I share organic family moments as they happen." Organic doesn't involve professional lighting, edited footage, and strategic release timing. Kelly shakes her head slowly. What you share is produced. Carefully produced. The pretense that it's spontaneous insults people's intelligence. Meghan grabs her purse from beside her on the couch. The movement is sudden, sharp. Her face is flushed, her composure finally shattered. "I don't have to sit here and listen to this." "No, you don't." Kelly's voice is calm, steady, utterly in control. "But leaving proves my point. Every time questioning gets real, you exit. Graham Norton, Bill Maher, Trevor Noah, Hoda Kotb, now us. The pattern is consistent and it's documented. The pattern is me protecting myself from hostile environments. The pattern is you fleeing accountability." Kelly's voice is not cruel, but it is firm. Those are fundamentally different things. Protection would be setting boundaries. Fleeing is refusing to engage at all. Meghan stands up fully, her purse clutched against her chest like armor. Her heels click against the studio floor, loud in the suddenly silent space. "I'm leaving." Kelly stands up too. The movement is deliberate, controlled, carrying the authority of someone who has been doing this longer than Meghan has been famous. "No," she says. "I'm asking you to leave. There's a difference." The studio goes completely silent. Mark looks between them, frozen in the space between his wife and their guest. The audience seems to have stopped breathing collectively. "I'm not kicking you out because of your answers." Kelly's voice is remarkably calm. "I'm ending this interview because it's become clear there's no interview to conduct. Every question hits a wall. Every topic triggers defensiveness. Every attempt at genuine conversation gets blocked." She pauses, letting the words settle. "In 25 years of doing this job, I've never encountered someone so completely unwilling to participate in basic human dialogue. Your questions were attacks. My questions were about your photo, your Instagram post, your Netflix deal, your staff, and your husband." Kelly's voice is remarkably steady. 5 topics, all publicly known. All things you've discussed extensively elsewhere when it suited you. If those questions feel like attacks, the problem isn't my questions. Meghan moves toward the stage exit. Her heels click against the floor in the silent studio. The sound seems amplified, echoing in the tension-filled space. "You'll regret this." Kelly shakes her head slowly. "I'll regret booking you. I'll regret thinking you might actually be interesting to talk to. I'll regret believing you'd bring something genuine to this couch. But asking you to leave." She pauses. "That I won't regret for a single second." Some desks don't belong here. You're the first one in 25 years I've had to remove. Meghan pauses at the edge of the stage. She turns back one final time, her face a mixture of anger and something else, something that might be shame. You've shown who you really are today. I have. Kelly's voice is utterly without hesitation. Someone who asks direct questions and expects direct answers. Someone who's spent 25 years distinguishing substance from performance. Someone who respects her audience enough to call out nonsense when she sees it. She pauses, letting the weight of her words settle. I know exactly who I am. I've known for decades. Can you say the same? Meghan leaves. The studio door closes behind her with a finality that seems to echo through the silent room. Kelly stands alone for a moment, then turns to face the audience. Mark comes to stand beside her, placing a supportive hand on the small of her back. His expression is a mixture of pride and disbelief. Well, she says, her voice remarkably steady despite what has just occurred. That's never happened before in 25 years. First time. The audience sits in stunned silence, unsure whether to applaud or simply witness. I want to be completely transparent about what just occurred here. Kelly's voice carries the weight of conviction. I asked questions about publicly known events. The Geneva photo with the controversial politician. The Instagram post timing before her speech. The Netflix cancellation. The staff departures. Her marriage. Basic topics that any journalist would cover. Topics she's discussed elsewhere multiple times. She pauses, steadying herself. The responses were defensive from the very first question. When I pressed for specifics, the defensiveness escalated. When I asked about her husband, a friendly question, the kind I ask every guest, she treated it as an attack. Her voice softens slightly. At a certain point, continuing the interview becomes participation in something I don't want to participate in. Something that doesn't serve anyone. Not her, not us, not you watching at home. Mark speaks carefully, his voice gentle. She wasn't giving us anything to work with. Honestly, I tried to help multiple times, create openings, soften transitions. Nothing worked. Nothing worked because she wasn't here to converse. Kelly's voice carries the quiet authority of someone who has spent decades doing this work. She was here to deliver talking points and expect acceptance. When acceptance didn't happen automatically, she treated questions as attacks and questioners as enemies. That's not how interviews work. That's not how adult conversation works. That's not how the real world works. She looks directly into the camera, her gaze steady and unwavering. I know this will generate headlines. I know I'll be called hostile by her team, probably by tomorrow morning. I know people will take sides and argue online for days. But I've spent my career creating a welcoming space where real conversations happen. What I experienced today wasn't conversation. It was performance demanding applause. I don't applaud performances I don't believe in. Mark adds thoughtfully, his voice soft but clear. We've had thousands of guests. Difficult ones. Awkward ones. Guests going through terrible times who could barely speak. We always find a way through. We always find the human connection. Today, there was no human to connect with. Just walls. Kelly nods, her expression thoughtful. Just walls everywhere I turned. And eventually, you have to recognize that some walls aren't meant to be climbed. Some walls exist because what's behind them isn't worth seeing. For Kelly Ripa, the confrontation became an unexpected milestone in an already legendary career. The first time in 25 years she'd asked a guest to leave her show. A moment that would be replayed millions of times. A moment that would spark debates on every entertainment outlet, every social media platform, every dinner table conversation in America. For Meghan Markle, it was catastrophic in a way her other interview disasters hadn't been. She had been removed from a morning show, not walked out on her own terms, but asked to leave. The distinction mattered enormously. Every other departure had been her choice, her narrative, her control. This one wasn't. Kelly had taken that control away in front of a live audience. For the millions who watched and the millions more who would watch the clips in the days that followed, something else emerged entirely. The contrast between what Kelly offered. Direct questions about publicly known topics, the same questions any journalist would ask, and what Meghan provided, defensiveness, deflection, accusations, and ultimately departure, told its own story. Kelly had asked about work. Meghan had experienced attack. Kelly had sought conversation. Meghan had provided walls. And in the end, Kelly had done what no host had done before. She had recognized that some interviews can't be saved and shouldn't be continued. She had ended it herself on her own terms. She had shown that even the friendliest hosts have limits that shouldn't be crossed. 25 years. Thousands of guests. One removal. What does that tell you about what happened on that couch? Some guests rise to difficult questions and become more interesting. Others run from the slightest challenge and become less. And occasionally someone has to show them the door. Kelly Ripa had finally met the guest who made her do it. And in that moment, she reminded everyone watching that truth matters more than comfort, that accountability matters more than popularity, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is say exactly what you mean, even when it costs you something. Especially when it costs you something. If you want more content that doesn't accept non-answers, subscribe. This is where the real moments happen. More truth, more accountability, more of what everyone else won't say. Stay with us.